3, check. 1, 2, 3. Hallo, check, check. 1, 2, 3. Ja, und bitte. Und während der Präsentation auch? Ja.
Kann schon? Ja. Oh. I kindly, oh, that's loud. I kindly ask you to take a seat, please. Ja, okay. Das muss ich auch noch machen. We have to be on time. And we are already 5 minutes delayed. Stefan, you are always the latest. Antonio, stop to make pictures. This is the bad student, you know, the one like then coming too late. No. Okay, so because we really have to be on time, directors, members of the EU Green Senate, colleagues from the Executive Committee, representatives from the Student Council, usually they are sitting in the back. Ah, no, this time in front, great. Members of the Infrastructure Commission, all participants, maybe already live stream, because we are live streaming. Welcome to Magdeburg, and also some special guests from the University of Angers, because we have also the administrative heads from the University of Angers with us in these days. So welcome to Magdeburg and to the Otto-von-Guericke-University, a place where tradition meets innovation and where collaboration is not merely encouraged but actively practiced. It's a particular honor to open today's meeting in the presence of 4 distinguished voices who will accompany and shape our discussions. We are privileged to welcome the Minister for European Affairs, Rainer Rober, whose perspective connects our work to broader political and societal ambitions of Europe, followed by our rector Jens Strackeljan from the University of Magdeburg, of course, whose commitment to international collaboration anchors today's gathering. And I am happy also to announce Pedro Fernandez Salguero, director from the University of Extremadura, the coordinating university from EU Green. And last but not least, I will also welcome Raquel, but her special role, I think the rector from Extremadura will announce something later. And what makes this moment very particularly meaningful is that we have really diversity of voices present. So from strategic leadership to academic governance, students' representatives and infrastructure development. So then I really would like to welcome Rainer Rober on the stage. Please.
Magnificence, Professor Strackelian, dear President Fernandez Salguero, dear Magnificences, dear representatives of the Student Council and students from near and far, ladies and gentlemen, Europeans, I warmly welcome you to your meeting in Magdeburg. You pronounce it Magdeburg, not Magdeburg, not Magdeburg, Magdeburg. I congratulate you on your partnership as an ideal way to promote the idea of Europe, and I'm proud that through the Otto-von-Guericke-University and the rector, Professor Strackelian, the state of Saxony-Anhalt can be an integral part of this partnership and host it today. Europe, the European Union, with its institutions and values and all the achievements derived from them, not least the funding possibilities of your partnership, as well as the opportunities for participation in European affairs, have always been of particular relevance to us. I say quite clearly, Europeans, Europe and only Europe is our future. Europe in the shape of the European Union may not be perfect, but it's our best chance for maintaining peace and prosperity and the most tangible opportunity to contribute our interests. It must be our goal to make Europe and the European Union as a community of values more resilient and competitive to the challenges of global competition, especially with a view to China and the United States today. Our state capital, the Landeshauptstadt Magdeburg on the River Elbe, is strongly influenced by the idea of Europe since centuries. It's closely associated with Emperor Otto I, a historical figure that has strongly influenced our continent. So did the Magdeburg Law hundreds of years later. The European Union is based on these foundations. The European University Alliance is an important facet of this. I welcome the fact that EU Green wants to shift research projects from metropolitan areas to the rural region as areas that deserve to be supported in their potential. Your engagement in the exchange and deepening of cooperation with this meeting of partner universities is an excellent example. You show how we can think Europe about as many topics from culture and science as possible. It is about both the digital infrastructure and the future and legal nature of the EU Green Alliance. And like everything in Europe, it's not so easy to create something like this. Congratulations to all of you. The studies should be a stage of life for young people where they can combine different experiences, get to know different cultures, and even experience different university as a common and united European university and a green university, what's very important. However, this requires comparability, a high degree of cooperation and extensive networking. This is exactly what you all are organizing together and for mutual benefit. I would like to thank everyone involved in this. I wish your meeting here in Magdeburg a successful course. Perhaps there is still time to visit the beautiful Romanesque monastery Unserer Lieben Frauen, which has been home to the Art Museum of the state capital Magdeburg for many decades. It's really wonderful. As far as my Ministry of Europe can support your initiative, do not hesitate to contact me. thank you for your attention and good luck to all of you. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Dear Mr. Rober, dear Rainer, thank you for your greetings, and that was my decision to invite him personally as a Minister for European Affairs, because I guess that is in the current times the most important message we could send in the world. We have also a Minister of Science and Higher Education that is clear in our state, but thank you, Rainer, for being here, and he has to leave us in a couple of minutes because they have at 10 o'clock traditionally the weekly meeting of the ministers, and I don't know whether you have very important decisions today. On behalf of all rectors, I welcome Pedro, the rector of the University of Extremadura. Thank you, and a warm welcome to all our guests and speakers and the whole EU Green family. Thank you for making the journey, especially as many of you needs more than 10 hours to traveling, has some difficulties with the train connection and so on. Magdeburg lies at the heart of Germany, and you might well ask why this heart doesn't have a high-speed train link. We have been asking ourselves the same thing since years. That is under discussion over a couple of years, decades, because this is the capital of one important federal state, but we need 2 hours to the Berlin airport, and we have a small airport here, but in general that is a problem. Yeah, we are living in challenging times. Looking back, it was 2021 when we laid the groundwork to the EU Green proposal. We discussed at great lengths what contributions could our universities and the regions in our countries do for Europe. And without this intensive discussion, we definitely not have received any funding. So it was important. But now we are faced with the reality that starting in February 22, we have since 4 years a war in Europe. It's not so far from here, and we are the bridge to East Europe. So our university with connections to Kharkiv, 50 kilometers from the front, and to Kiev, that is for us really in an intensive focus. And then after the election in the United States, we see that there is a new focus, and it is not Europe. And now we have to ask, just to see what happens in these 4 years. And now is the question, is there any reaction from our alliance? Is there any new expectation what we have to do? Yeah, and what applies to Europe applies to Germany in particular. For many years, perhaps maybe decades, Germany achieved outstanding economic development due to a couple of factors. The 3 of the most important. Firstly, we had very cheap energy from Russia. Secondly, we were the world's leading exporter, and China was one of the key customers for our cars and so on. Wolfsburg, the headquarter of Volkswagen. For a couple of years, the largest car manufacturer in the world is only 70 kilometers from here. And in good years, we make millions of euros and direct contracts, development things and so on with Volkswagen. They stopped more or less everything. And thirdly, the Americans ensured military security in Germany and Europe. And all these 3 factors no longer exist. What to do? And that is a question we are faced here also in our state. We have an election, 6th of September, and there are some parties which promise very simple solutions to these complex questions. And the society expect answers also from us as a university with our profile, and that is not so easy. And I hope that after these 2 days you have a little bit of better understanding. That is really a benefit of our traveling twice per year, to the different members in our great alliance. Yeah, and we here on the campus office quite a lot. The development or the history of our university is a history of transformation. Founded in 1953 as a university for heavy metal industry, focuses STEM, showed a little bit what was the design project at this time. And then in 1993, a merger of three former institutions, a medical academy, now our medical school, and also the hospital, and a teachers college. And then maybe 1933, Intel was now history, but that was really a booster. That Intel decided to build here in Magdeburg the largest FIP factory ever, with new programs, applied nanotechnologies. We started everything, renewed our clean room, which is so expensive. And now we have to see what will happen with the ground, and the parliament and also the state are doing a lot of things. Maybe it is EU Green, it is an idea of a European university which gives us opportunities that other companies in a high-tech sector that is important for us, not just to have a computer center, but a little bit more with a linkage to the university. Looking back in the years, 100 years before, in 1920, this is a picture where you find here, here is my office, and here is Dina's office, that is the rectorate. This church is no longer existing, these buildings are no longer existing. Why? Because in January 1945, Magdeburg was destroyed, the second time in its history. First time was 1631. Yeah, you see here, there was more or less nothing in the city. You could visit the cathedral, and tomorrow the museum, and these are a few of the remaining parts. And then they decided to create this university in 1953. And they have a lot of other obligations and challenges at this time. It was clear we need this university to restart again. This is a map, because our campus at the moment is a reconstruction site, that is clear. And so it is much easier to give you our idea of this green campus in a current picture, because it will change from day to day. So sorry about the things. We worked hard to finish it until May 26, but it is like it is. Yeah, and here our green heart of the campus, that will be reality in a couple of months. We build a lot. On the opposite side, and we'll see it tomorrow, for lunch, our library in the middle, and we removed 4,000 meters of books. And now it is a wellness area for the students just to read in the notebook or whatever. And if they want, they have access to books, but most of them are e-books. We have, you see, solar panels on the roofs wherever it is possible. Solar panels on other campus parts. On the right side, it is 400 meters from here, near the River Elbe, a part of our campus, so scientific harbor, we call it, where you have buildings and we focus there on medical engineering, and also here a 1 megawatt photovoltaic application next to a lab where we have, there's a strong need for energy. So we are now, starting beginning of this year, CO2 net zero. So for heating and cooling and so on, it's okay. Traveling and so on, that is a topic at the moment, but we spent 25 million euros only for piping, cooling and heating and so on. That's a lot, and I know that not all universities, even Germany or here in the network, have the opportunities to do this. What we like, and this is my German language lesson, a university for all, für alle, so in this case German and English it's close together. Yeah, we know that universities of the future will operate in completely different ways. Digital teaching formats, AI will transform university, and let's see what programs, degree programs, will still exist in a few years. I'm not sure about programs in mechanical engineering like it is, and we could discuss it, and we invited guests which could help us to learn, to understand, and we could do it here in the official parts and also this night in the Festung Mark on the opposite side of the road, and tomorrow and whenever we have time in the coffee breaks and so on. Yeah, with this in mind, I wish us 2 wonderful days here in Magdeburg. I hope you will leave the capital of our federal state, Saxony-Anhalt, feeling confident that Europe has a bright future if we work together, and if not now, whenever then. Thank you. Sorry about the clock. It is just, it is not working, so it gives not an orientation, so I'm not sure whether I'm in my 10 minutes. Pedro, you should not use this clock as an orientation. I don't know why.
Yeah, do you have a PowerPoint?
No, I don't have
okay.
to. Okay.
Then I will.
Ready? Is it working? Yeah, now. So the rector of Magdeburg is okay? Magdeburg? No? Magdeburg? Luckily the minister is not here to... Okay, so dear rector, I also salute the Minister for European Affairs, even though he had to leave. Rectors and presidents of the EU Green University, Senate, Executive Committee, Students' Council, Infrastructure Commission, university representatives, distinguished colleagues, attendants, and dear friends. It is really an honor and a privilege for me to attend this 2026 Board of Rectors meeting of EU Green here in Magdeburg. And let me express in the first time my gratitude to your university for hosting us with generosity, friendship, and for making this meeting possible, since we all know the effort it takes to welcome and to host so many colleagues, students, and partners. On behalf of the rectors of the Alliance, I would like to acknowledge at this moment the great work, commitment, and contributions of the former Ibora rector, Herminia Vilar, and her team. Thanks to all of them for their enthusiasm in contributing to the success of the Alliance. Professor Cesaltina, please express my gratitude to Armenia in the name of all of us. During these 2 days in Magdeburg, we will advance in our common goals of improved governance and consolidate commitments for our second term. I invite you to keep sight on the tough, complex, and volatile context of the current geopolitical situation across the world that is having a deep impact in the university, stressing education, research, and mobility, both of students and staff. The European values of cooperation, solidarity, democracy, and peace are more important than ever. And therefore, our alliance should be resilient enough to stand and work together, educating new European generations with the values and skills that characterize our countries and that our societies urgently need. EU Green should be a reference in higher education, paving the way for a sustained and long-term commitment of collaboration within Europe and overseas. Looking at Latin America, Asia, and Africa appears as future scenarios that we could take into consideration. In fact, the European Union is seriously considering a Latin American Erasmus Plus program whose outcome we should follow closely. The sessions of this annual meeting should advance in our decision-making regarding political orientation, financing, administration, governance strategy, and students' engagement. They are opportunities to strengthen our collaborative and collective ownership of EU Green. 3 major topics are open for discussion on digital infrastructure and joint degrees, future of the Alliance and legal entity. Together with the combined work of the Board of Rectors, the Senate, the Executive Committee, and the dynamisms of the Students' Council. All of them are crucial to our future success. As an integrated force team, these bodies are shaping an alliance that is administratively sound, intellectually vibrant, and socially relevant because, as peripheral European universities, we provide an important added value to our regions. Moreover, since the first COP1 meeting at the University of Angers, we acknowledge that in addition to listening to our students, staff, and colleagues, we also need to listen to our regions and also municipalities whose partnership ensures that EU Green is not confined to academia but becomes a real transformative force in our territories. As we await the decision of the European Commission on our proposal for the next 2 years, which I presume will be positive, we must keep working with determination, optimism, and conviction, knowing that we are taking a great deal of responsibility to place sustainability as a must in European higher education. Europe cannot afford to lose competitiveness and power in strategic issues against countries that are rapidly gaining international impact and whose production, industrial and social criteria reduce our presence in a globalized market. And to remain competitive, a well-designed human resources strategy appears fundamental. Now it is the time. And I am sure that we all agree that EU Green cannot afford to be excluded from this unique opportunity. One major aim of EU Green is students' mobility, and this is particularly relevant for their education if we want to generate citizens with a solid professional education, socially responsible, and with a broad view of the international scenario. Young generations demand changes, and more importantly, that they want to have an active role in shaping them. As rectors, professors, administrators, and public leaders, our responsibility is to create the conditions to foster creativity, to turn ideas into impact, and to guide the students to become citizens able to develop sustainable and responsible policies for the future. Let us remember that shaping a sustainable future is not just a task for tomorrow. It is our responsibility for today. The future will judge us by how we use resources in transforming our communities, how we generate and transfer knowledge, and how we empower young people. With all these ideas in mind, and with the conviction that Europe relies in its values, regions, and universities, I wish you a fruitful meeting with open discussions, increased collaborations, and a desire for a stronger Europe. Just before closing, let me inform you officially about an important issue that most of you already know, regarding the coordination of our alliance. Due to medical reasons and recommendations, Gema Delicado has decided to resign her position as general coordinator of EU Green, effective April 30th, 2026. Raquel Pérez Aloe, who is present here, former local coordinator, has generously accepted to take this responsibility and has become general coordinator with effects from May 1st, 2026. With this replacement, we maintain consistency in criteria and alliance governance while preserving structural organization. In fact, Raquel has been acting as general and local coordinator together for the last month. In addition, Jesus Diaz, who's also here, UX Deputy Coordinator, is now serving as local coordinator based on his experience and dedication to the Alliance during these years. Considering this update, the team is again consolidated, remaining firmly committed to the second term of EU Green 2. So this is all for my end. Thank you very much for your assistance and your attention. I have a nice meeting. Thank you.
Good morning, everybody. Thank you very much, Pedro, for your kind words and for the trust that you have placed in me through my appointment as a general coordinator. Accepting this responsibility is both an honor and a challenge, and I do so with deep gratitude and a strong sense of commitment to our alliance. My first thoughts after accepting the role are for my dear Gemma Delicado, the former general coordinator that has had to leave this position. I miss her, as we have been together since the very beginning of UGreen back 2019. Her guidance, commitment, and vision have been truly inspiring, and I personally hope to follow in her footsteps, and I continue to guide this coordination with the same dedication, generosity, and care that she has shown. And now it is a great pleasure to welcome Minister of European Affairs, Rector, Senator, member of the Executive Committee, Infrastructure Commission, colleagues, friends, and especially our students who are at the very heart of everything we do. We are living a key transition, moving from the first phase of the Alliance towards its full and definitive consolidation. Over the coming days, the meetings of the different commissions will be essential in shaping this next stage and collectively building its future. The consolidation of our Alliance is fundamental, not only for the construction of a European university, but also for strengthening a shared space, a shelter where core European values such as peace, intellectual freedom, democracy, inclusion, and diversity can truly be protected. Thank you all for your commitment, your presence, and your shared belief in UGreen. And yes, we are believers, and we believe in the possibility of a better world. Thank you very much.
Yeah, so I will give you some more practical information now on the next days. So, beside the upcoming panel discussion we will have from 11 on, and we are super good on time. That's great. Everyone was keeping the time. Great. So I would introduce you some guests we will have as well with us in the next days. These are three wonderful and very energetic women. Valerie Scheck, it's the Secretary General from the Youth Alliance. So she will join from today evening on. And she will exchange with us and rectors on the topic of a legal entity for EU Green. We have as guest as well Annette Klinkert. She's the CEO from City to Science, a company that supports strategic alliances between city and campus and develops innovative formats of science communication. But until the end of last year, she served as main coordinator for the Colors European Universities Alliance. And she will engage particularly with the executive committee and will stress a bit the challenges we have together. Last but not least, we can also welcome, I hope I pronounced this correctly, but in case you have the deeper translation at least, Caroline Sancier-Camus from the French Ministry of Higher Education, Research and Innovation. She is responsible in the ministry for the alliances and published recently also an article on the transformative effect on alliances in France. And she will exchange with us and rectors on the future of alliances and European competitiveness. I'm very happy that she took our invitation because actually she planned holidays and moved them for us. Yes. Then now it comes a very, very practical thing I need to share with you. Please remember to register each day by scanning the QR code. You find them as well in your conference folders you have in front of you. And please complete the short survey. It's quick and it's digital, but our paperwork still stays. It insists on a daily signature to keep our bureaucracy very spreading, very well alive. So we still need to sign as well. Then you might also wonder why we have one guest painting the entire time. It is a very talented woman. She's there, Denise Killman. And with her graphic recording from the meeting, she will capture real-time decision-making, simplify also our complex discussions, hopefully, enhance engagement and enable knowledge sharing in and outside of EU Green. And she will create a lasting visual memory for alignment and transparency. And if you want to see how the picture is evolving, just scan the QR code. It just drives you to the Agora page for the Board of Rectors meeting, and there first you will find also the program and information about each session, but we will also put there today on a regular basis the graphic recording, how it evolves. Then today in the evening you will join the social event at Festung Mark from 7 p.m. on. The Festung Mark, it's just right there over the street. It is a historic 19th century Prussian fortress that has been now transformed into a vibrant cultural venue for events, concerts and gatherings very close to the university. We will celebrate there the alliance together, hopefully, not alone. We will do it together with the researchers from all 9 partner universities from the Groovus conference happening at the same time in the moment in Magdeburg as well. And I need to mention, the entry is reserved for registered participants only, and your name badge will serve as entrance ticket. Don't forget it. If you forget it, it might be a problem because you need to pass by me and you need to charm me or gently bribe me. Decide what you want to do. So I will be at the discotheque, the one to kick out or let you in. On May 6th, so tomorrow in the afternoon, you will join several sightseeing offers. You can see the venues and meeting points also here on the slides for your convenience. Please try to remind what you have registered for or your local coordinator has registered you for. Because the number of participants is limited, but don't worry, if you are getting lost or you forget where to be, we can also help you and share all information in our group. So after a full day of meetings, some of you were clearly very persuasive in choosing sightseeing over free time, so consider this as a proved way to stretch your legs before dinner. Then the dinner tomorrow we will have together in the Museum for Cultural History in the Kaiser Otto Hall from 7:30 on. As said before, it is only for registered participants of the Board of Rectors. So again, bring your name badges and please don't take anything from the museum. Because it's really open for us, so we are not responsible then for what you bring from the old stones or something like that. Okay, so then we will have lunch together later, and Stefan, because he has several jobs here, he's also doing gardening and I don't know what else you do. And he will offer a learning snack after the lunch, so we need to also collect some steps, because today until the evening we need to walk Magdeburg. We have to speed up here. And he can show you the OVGU Biodiversity Lab. He will leave the lunch area around 1:30, and obviously it depends if we have dry weather or not. We organized for you wonderful sunshine and summertime, as you can see outside. We had this until yesterday. Now it comes in German we say Eisheilige. When you leave on Thursday, weather's good again, huh? Then regarding venues, you have also in your conference folder a printed map. So we use the buildings colored for you in burgundy color of our wonderful OVGU color. Who has decided actually for that color? But here you can see our Magdeburg Minds and Matters crew. We will be on site throughout the meeting to support you with anything you need, from directions to last minute fixes. You will easily spot them, in particularly our students, because they will wear our wonderful t-shirts. And they are always there to jump in and to help you to run things smoothly. And at this point, I really would like to say a huge thank you to the team, because it would not have been possible to organize everything without you. I mean, I can do something, but it's mainly Katrin, Adrian, and Alexandra. Thanks a lot. What should I do without you? Yes, and now we will move into a coffee break. It is just over our Mensa place, and we will continue at 11 sharp with our panel discussion at the same place. And I would like to ask rectors, please, to stay for a picture. Or rectors delegate. In a lecture, usually the lecturer would stay silent until the students are watching and wondering why the lecturer is not talking. So, dear rectors, colleagues, partners, and friends, it's a pleasure again to welcome you to this panel session with the topic "Role of European University Alliances in driving digital transformation and innovating future teaching paradigms," here at our Board of Rectors meeting 2026 in Magdeburg. European University Alliances have emerged as powerful laboratories of innovation, spaces where institutional boundaries dissolve and collaborative experimentation becomes the norm. In a time where digital transformation is not merely an option, but a structural necessity, these alliances are uniquely positioned to co-create new models of teaching, learning, and knowledge exchange across borders. Today's topic is particularly important because it sits at the intersection of technological advancement, pedagogical innovation, and societal responsibility if we look at AI. As universities face increasing demands for flexibility, inclusivity, and lifelong learning, digital tools and transnational cooperation offers pathways to reimagine education systems that are resilient, student-centered, and future-oriented. What makes this session especially meaningful is that for the first time, we are extending this conversation beyond this room. Through live streaming, we are opening the panel to our wider university communities, students, researchers, and staff, inviting them to engage with and reflect on these transformative developments alongside us. This step reflects the very spirit of the alliances we represent: openness, collaboration, and shared learning across borders and institutional levels. We are honored to be joined by distinguished representatives from 4 leading alliances: eUniverse, CIVIS, Unite, and of course, EU Green. Each alliance brings a distinct perspective, ranging from well-being-centered education and civic engagement to technological excellence and sustainability-driven transformation. Through their insights and concrete examples, they will illuminate how digital strategies are being implemented, not just as tools, but as catalysts for systemic change in higher education. I really look forward for an inspiring discussion. You already see the names at the slide from the speakers, but after the presentations by each speaker, we will have the time to discuss and ask questions. And now I would like to introduce the first speaker for you. I will do this introduction before each speaker. Beatrix, as our first speaker, she was appointed as Vice Rector for Teaching and Studies at the University of Cologne in 2019. And since 2020, she has been Professor of English Linguistics at the University of Cologne. Beatrix's research interests include corpus linguistics, the history of the English language, sociopragmatics, transfer linguistics, and language in urban settings. Sorry, I needed to read this. As well as artificial intelligence, education, and research. Beatrix is the Chief Development Officer of eUniverse, as well as chair of the For You for All board. By the way, elected for the 2nd time shortly ago. For You for All represents all 75 European university alliances. She was elected vice chair of the executive board of the Coimbra Group, and she is a visiting fellow of the British Academy. Before Cologne, she was a full professor of English linguistics in Heidelberg, where she also served 2 terms as vice rector for studies and teaching. I know Cologne is very busy in the moment with the preparation for the Excellence Initiative, but I'm very grateful and thankful that she took the time to be here with us. Welcome, Beatrix, and thanks a lot to make this slot free for us.
Yes. Dear Anna, dear EU Green colleagues, dear students, and of course, I have to say this also a special dear Herr Strakeljan. It's a great honor to be with you, and I do apologize that it's only in such a way. I can see the setting, it's quite something being in the screen while the colleagues are sitting there. But I do my best that, you know, you still get the vibes that are so important these days, also when we work within our European universities, alliances, and also in this setting. It's a pleasure for me to be there. Anna, as you know, I totally support your great work there, and also the work of EU Green. Congrats on everything you have achieved so far. And yes, board rectors meeting and the gathering you have there in Magdeburg today, that's so important. Also in those times at the moment, I'll come back to this, because the heat is on, it's crunch time for European universities. We have to push our course at the moment quite heavily with regard to investment pathways, with regard to showing what it is that we have already achieved. So my apologies for not being there. I'll now share my screen and start with my presentation. And I just need a little sign that you can see it now in the presentation mode. I think you can, right? Very good. Yes, somebody can just do thumbs up. Stefan Lang, can you just do thumbs up? That's way, then I know. Okay, very good. Yes? No? Yes? No? Because I can't hear anything. Anna, just text me or tell me if everything is okay. Yeah? Ah, okay. Now I see the larger screen and I see myself just far away, so it should be working now. But I don't hear anything. Anna, is that okay? Okay, you say. Okay, good. So I saw that. Okay, I'd like to just begin with a few comments on where we are with alliances and some reflections on UNIWEL, of course, with regard to this very important topic that you have chosen for your gathering here today. And I think there are numerous connections, many of which Anna has already introduced in her opening speech, that because we are one of our main ideas of how we work together is co-creation, and also this deep cooperation that we have highlighted in the For You For All paper, which can be realized in various ways digitally, then of course in physical presence. But we know in order to really achieve a campus for the futures, the digital transformation is key, as is probably also other transformations like AI. I will be very briefly talking about that as well. Now, just some perspectives. Anna asked me to also do a few perspectives on European University, that initiatives where we are, launched some time ago now, with well, little money in a way, and still we have received or achieved so much. We are an established part of the European higher education landscape now, with a community of practice of For You For All, with more than 70 plus alliances now working in different thematic groups on basically everything that can be done in the field of higher education, from research and innovation to languages, to also digital innovation and so on. Where are we going? We are moving towards long-term collaborations and institutional commitments. The investment pathway is one of our main concerns at the moment to fight. I really probably have to say, to really battle for European national institutional funding, and to stress that what we are doing is not just education, it's not just one or the other. We are working on all missions that a university and institution of higher education has. And we are really making an impact on the scene in various ways, and especially also, I would say, in the field of digital transformation and how we collaborate, how we teach and learn in new ways, how we translate research-based education, for example, with the help of digital tools. That's very important. But that's also something we need to show and to communicate and to disseminate as much as we can at the moment. Now, what do we need now? As you know, the context and our role is very crucial at the moment. And since there are so many of you right now, I thought I have to say this from various countries in Europe. We have the negotiations going on of the multi-annual financial framework. And currently, even the Erasmus Plus doesn't look so promising because some lines are deleted there. The Italian Rectors Conference has already written a paper on this. I hope we can push the Germans as well to do this. So Erasmus, as you know, our success story, where the main funding line, baseline funding for alliances, and then, of course, Horizon Europe, because we are doing research, and the European Competitiveness Fund, where also initially in the draft, the European alliances were mentioned, but then, this is currently not the case anymore. So our role, demonstrate impact, advocate your ministries, the MPs, the European Commission. This is what we are doing via For You, For All, and also in the member states and so on. And I think the topic you have chosen for your conference is one of the ways we could be doing this, also with regard to skilling and so on, and training, the union of skills, why it is that we contribute to the competitiveness fund, also through creating new communities, to practicing and to experimentation with regard to also the way we transform education, and with that also how we work together, also in research and innovation. And this is, of course, with regard to your topic, sustainability, a huge issue to follow up, because we really have something to contribute. Now, just some words on UniWell, the European University for Wellbeing. Here are a number of foundations of UniWell that I'd briefly like to mention with regard to the mission statement and our strategy, and also the model we follow, because that will be important to understand how we did the digital transformation. Now, the mission statement is our core. All alliances have this. And one of our aims is to investigate, advance well-being for the individual and society as a whole, as well as the planet. So very ambitious. And of course, then with regard to the digital transformation as such, to create then communities for well-being, to become a European university, for example, which is two pillars of our UniWell strategy, is crucial. And in order to realize our aims, we go for a so-called platform model of our 12 universities that participate and are members of UniWell, because we say that the different universities have got different strengths, which can be used for our platform model to then strengthen different areas. For example, some are very strong in innovation and entrepreneurship. Others are comprehensive university with research strength. And still others have been very much pushing the digital transformation, so we can now profit from them. And this platform model, meaning that different aspects, can then be scaled up, is what we try to really operationalize, which also means that not everything has to be done by everybody. So different nucleus, if you like, and points of contact, if you think in terms of a network model, then will help to accelerate and to let the alliance grow as a whole. So that's very important for our approach. And here again, the mission statement together will help create a world in which individual, society, and environmental well-being are in synergy, in which we flourish and prosper together. So well-being is not just the GDP, it's not just output. Well-being is a combination of eudaimonia and hedonism, if you like. So it's fostering well-being, prosperity by a holistic approach that is looking, for example, at an individual's well-being, at health issues, at your personal satisfaction, at your job, and so on, so that we're not just looking at health in general. And here you see some of our ideas, and also our aims empowers our cutting-edge research, education, and training, and also other areas that we highlight to really enable this. Now in Uniwell, one aim and overarching objective is, and now I'm moving into the topic of your conference as well, is facilitating the digital university. And digital here, meaning also it's not just technological, but it's also, you know, to follow our values as well, meaning that you know, we want to be inclusive there. Everybody should have access. It should be open. So it should also follow our values of Uniwell. And generally speaking, of course, also those that we as universities stand for, our DNA. So here you have some of the overarching objectives that we designed. For example, a common and shared digital ecosystem for Uniwell, enable transnational education and collaboration, including also research, of course, and innovation across institutions, and create a shared digital and virtual space uniting now 12 universities and the associated partners. So we now have a dedicated work package in our current Erasmus Plus funding. We just had the interim report and were praised for what we have achieved. We have our weaknesses as well, but this was something where we were praised for. So we have to implement the digital solutions that enable that collaboration. And yeah, as you can see, as a university, not just for teaching and learning, but for all the missions. And so initial requirements, which we already had before in the pilot phase, which you can see here very concretely, alliance-wide file sharing, collaboration, communication and networking, learning management system and course catalog, and open educational resources as a repository, and identity and single sign-on as requirements. And then the meta requirements, very important, which hold for any university, but is, I would say, then, you know, even more complex when 12 universities, if and when 12 universities are collaborating, some of which are, of course, digital sovereignty and security and interoperability. Given that, you know, we also, have among us, for example, the Ukrainian institution, Taras National University of Kiev as well. So we really looked at these aspects as well. And meta requirement low cost, well, that's relative, of course. We can talk about this. Fundamental challenges, I'd like to talk about those as well. And I'm sure we have all encountered them. We already encounter them individually as institutions, more or less. For Cologne, this is a huge issue, as you can imagine, a very big university, and this scaled up is quite something. So organizational structure, legal challenges and compliance, and technology and operations. So of course, we were very heterogeneous organizations, and we still are in that sense, distributed responsibilities, who is in charge, where, at which institution, and tension, of course, between autonomy and centralized federated solutions, technology and operations, interoperability, and the integration complexity, and legal, the GDPR compliance, and also the heterogeneous national regulations. It's a bit like, you know, we experience this with the accreditation and so on. So we have different phases there, and perhaps in those phases, the starting point, we started with a Google Workspace. We now have, and this is what we're very proud of, a core service. We have a Uniwell-wide LMS established and working. We have a Uniwell cloud system, that's Nextcloud. The LMS is Elias. And we have established process structures, and we're moving into scaled production here, campus management system, and an SIS. The lessons learned, early and thorough requirements engineering with all stakeholders. So I stay very technical here as well. Balanced standardization with institutional diversity, rely on interoperable standards-based, and combine distributed governance with strong coordination and support. These are our lessons learned. Very important to follow, if I may say so. And the current technological solution, and this is really to realize then research-based teaching in a or research-related teaching in its different forms. This is to realize the streaming that Anna has just talked about. This is to realize also the file sharing, also to realize our course catalog, to then move into the assessment procedures and so on. So this is what it currently looks like. The cloud solution, Nextcloud, the collaboration solution, only offers communication solution, then the learning management system, Elias, here hosted at the University of Cologne. Where do we learn online with all the facilities that Elias has? Manage credentials now. We're moving into micro-credentials as well. The course catalog as a website, which learning experiences do we offer? And the OER platform, which is very dear to me as well, because we have signed this declaration as well for OER and only OER. Where do we publish and maintain hybrid classrooms with diverse local infrastructure, totally revamped here at the University of Cologne with EdTech, that we can now actually do this, actually fostered by Uniwell developments as well, and then moving towards the campus management system in the future. So 12 universities and 60 partners, we have achieved this. And yeah, I'm very happy to talk about more about these technical solutions and what this means now for a state-of-the-art teaching and learning that is so collaborative, so interdisciplinary, and that really then realizes our shared MA courses that we all are currently working on, and why this is so crucial for any student, I would say. And with that, that's my little input. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you, Beatrix. So she will stay with us until 12:30, but then she needs to leave. And I will introduce the second speaker to you. This is Stefan Lang, who is representing CIVIS Alliance for the University of Salzburg. He will talk about evolution from shared to joint educational offers, how this is supported by process digitalization, exchange standards, and to which extent it entails different aspects of interoperability. Stefan is a renowned geoinformatics and remote sensing expert, and serves as well as Dean at the Faculty of Digital and Analytical Sciences at the University of Salzburg. As a professor on Earth observation, he's driving research activities on advanced geospatial image analysis, EO-based monitoring, and multi-source data integration. He is involved in Skills Alliance projects and coordinates an Erasmus Mundus on Earth observation and digital Earth. He has launched long-term collaborations with humanitarian organizations, and he is involved in spin-offs and related transfer activities of the university. He has been appointed the first Secretary General for the CIVIS Alliance October 2024 onwards, I think. So, welcome, Stefan. The stage is yours.
Okay, thank you very much for your kind words, and dear representatives, dear rectors. This is probably one of the most enjoyable parts of my job, is visit other alliances and learning from each other, and thereby I think really trying to find a sort of a common sense, kind of collective intelligence of what we can actually achieve as European universities alliances. And I'm representing CIVIS. I'm not representing Salzburg today, even though you picked deep into my CV. But of course, I'm representing the entire alliance. And what I would like to highlight, what I like, is okay? Yeah. What I like to highlight here is we are, I would say, well, student-wise, I have to say this, but I only say it once, because size does not matter, but we are the biggest alliance. Sorry to say that. We are talking here about 500,000 students in Europe alone, and we talk about another 350,000 in Africa. So it's including stuff, we are close to 1 million individuals that belongs to this alliance. And this is only 1 out of 75. You know, this enormous leverage that we have in this community. And we are so proud to have our partnership with African partners, which is institutionalized meanwhile, because we have an alliance agreement that unifies the 17 partners, 11 in Europe and 6 in Africa. And we also have an association, a legal entity that somehow makes the umbrella out of it. What that means in practice is basically that with this enormous network we are moving on. It's not just an university alliance, but it's actually more. We have a Jean Monnet network. It's called Polycivis, where we look into polycrisis and the effects in Africa and Europe, where all 17 universities involved. We have an MECA network, staff exchanges, where all 17 universities are involved. On participatory action, on how we approach complexity from a systems perspective, very interdisciplinary. I'm proud to say that this is probably the only MSCA where all disciplines are involved. Each and every discipline, which is listed actually in the MSCA, is somehow involved in this really high inter and transdisciplinary network. So I think that was enough say and advertise about Civis. Let's zoom out. I mean, we have just from Beatrix Busse, the speaker and chair of For You For All. She was, of course, the most entitled to speak about the impact that we have nowadays, also on the political agenda. We can be a little bit frustrated, but overall I think we should be very, very proud that this is acknowledged not only let's say on the level of ministries and the level of the commission, of course, but also in the parliaments across all parties. And here's some quotes of these recent reports. And I think we need to also be confident as Alliance. Let's really stick to, let's say, our unique contribution to all this transformation. And the more blunt we are, I think, the better. And obviously, of course, we should not exaggerate what we're doing, but simply if we are modest, then this is already quite sufficient, because this is much more transformative power than we would have ever before. I would say is the third reform of the European education system. The role that we play is also quite important in more technical sense. I'm referring here to the European Digital Education Hub, where I think, and this is of course not only my opinion, European universities, they drive this. We are the pioneers. We are the ones where these sort of high-level goals and objectives really are prerequisites. It's not something we aspire in the future, this is the absolute sine qua non. Without technical interoperability, we are nowhere. Without organizational, bringing down these barriers between in legal aspects, organizational aspects, or so, we can simply go home, so to speak. Yeah, so this is sort of a precondition. We are looking, of course, into challenge-based approaches, transdisciplinary long-term vision, as I said before, transdisciplinary in the sense collaborative, complementary. It's not that everyone is doing the same. No, we have this mosaic of contributions, the building blocks that each and everyone brings in that makes this wonderful whole picture. Again, this is not something to study in detail, but probably some of you, most of you are aware of these use cases that we have defined within the Digital Education Hub and other initiatives. It is very, very clear that with this ambition of joint teaching and joint education, and also, of course, shared infrastructures, we need to follow some rules and ideas. And technically, I think everything is there. The standards are basically set. The guidelines are there. There is the interoperable. There's even the legal framework. So but this just is, of course, yeah, it's sort of an inverted comma. We just have to follow these rules and proceed. And this is something that brings me now to the topic here, because I mean, you're a research-oriented alliance, I would say, and in our case, CIVIS, we would also be okay. Research has an important role, but we are comprehensive, so we have a lot of research strands, basically. Research-driven education is our big title. And obviously, this is something which is really a challenge at the moment, to bring together all these achievements from research data management and research infrastructure that we have developed over the last years and decades, and on the other hand, the educational interoperability in terms of credit management, identity management, and so on and so forth. So to interlink this is, again, I think the ideal platform that we're facing here within our European universities. Now let's bring an example. This is we're proud of this flagship. It is a joint master on transdisciplinary studies of climate, environment, and energy. And I will go a little bit deeper into it before we go into technical terms, because I think it's quite interesting. It is indeed involving all universities of the CIVIS Alliance, but obviously, of course, if you think of diverse study paths and alternatives and options, you could have like an n permutation. It's sort of an endless number of options. So in the end, we ended up with 9 different individual study paths in couples of universities, but then integrated, of course, in the whole study program. And having these kind of joint master's programs or joint degrees is, of course, a significant step beyond sharing and opening selected courses to other individuals. Because here you have to really align the curricula, and you have to have all these other technical preconditions in place. Here you see again the schema. So it's coordinated with the University of Stockholm, but then it opens up, these 9 different alternative paths in terms of specialization, from more physical, climate-related aspects up to legal aspects, from societal aspects, and so on and so forth. So really comprehensive. And I think this is a very wonderful example for deep collaboration. What does it mean in technical terms? And this is just a reference to a workshop that we together attended. I think, Stefan, you were also there, and a few others. That, of course, we need these interoperability capabilities and reference to existing achievements that we have in this place. I make it a little bit easier, I think, to understand on the following graphic, because here it is basically, there are 3 main components. Yeah? We're talking about content and content management, basically. Yeah? We are talking about credential management, and we talk about identity management. And then, of course, there is also the research data and research infrastructure components. So it's 3 to 4 of these components. And it's, of course, too ambitious to think that each and every member of an alliance is, let's say, on the same advancement level. So what we decided now in the future is actually that we have, let's say, pioneering universities or groups that demonstrate how this is actually implemented in practice and what benefits it has. And if we demonstrate on this very advanced Tracy master and very complex Tracy master that I just explained to you, then I think this is a very, very illustrative case, and everybody would understand, this is how we make it, and how this also can be, of course, followed. Again, and not going here into detail, that just illustrate that, of course, we relate also to these use cases that I said before. We make full interoperability in technical, but of course also organizational terms. And I see already people sweating, not in the room, but in our administrations. They're really scared to some degree, but there's nothing to be scared of, because I mean, it is something that anyway we need to go, and this, as it has been said before, this is a catalyst for a development that we have to go anyway. Okay, I think I'm coming to an end with a metaphor. Again, we see these joint activities that we have is really a train that is moving, and we are moving together. We are sitting in the train and taking also maybe different roles, but this is not only one driver. Well, we are actually a team, and It is sometimes puzzling, but in the end it is also very much rewarding, I would say. And with this, I thank you very much. Who is this community? Because I think it needs a community to raise a kid, to raise a European university. Alliance is a huge community, and this community, I think, is us, and that's why I'm so happy to be here. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Stefan. I will shortly introduce the third speaker to you, because we need to speed up a bit, because we also should have the possibility to have some questions on a later stage. So our third speaker is, oh, I hope I pronounce it correctly. Egal. Is Meritxell Viñas-Clos. Meritxell works at the Universitat Politécnica de Catalunya in Spain. I try to also make the she works there as the institutional architect of research infrastructure ecosystems, overseeing governance, sustainability, and international positioning. She has a strong experience in securing multi-million euro investments. Wow. Designing access and funding models and aligning institutional strategy with European policy priorities. Additionally, she serves as the subgroup leader of the European Shared Research Infrastructure Group in For You For All and the Unite Alliance to shape shared infrastructure governance models on a European level. Meritxell holds a business school degree in management and international business and a master degree in international business as well from the University of Florida.
Okay, thank you for the kind introduction. So, as you can see, my position is very focused on shared research infrastructure, technical infrastructure, and it has to do with the data that this research infrastructure provides, but also the economical and the sustainability part of the physical infrastructure. So, the challenge or the presentation that I wanted to share with you today was a case of one of the elements or challenges that we took over when creating the working group at Unite for shared research infrastructures. So initially this work group was created to start a catalog of shared research infrastructure that we can promote or disseminate. But at the same time, we realized that it's not only about creating an inventory of what we have, but how can we make it be, like, take it one step further. So the challenge, one of the challenges that I'm going to talk about today is the legal challenge, is how we actually make the system work, and so that legally it can become make it easier for anyone to access the platform and our infrastructures. So I wanted to have like a brief introduction of how it all started, and basically is we started creating the catalog, and we went from fragmentation to interoperability. What this means is we needed to have like a common definition of infrastructure, which it was quite a challenge in the beginning, so we ended up choosing or taking the Open Charter for Access definition, but most of us like agreed upon, and it also was easier because all the institutions in our alliance, they are all technical, so we could like have some common ground. there. We had to harmonize the information that we were going to share from all our infrastructures, and then we saw the first problem. Each institution has different legal frameworks and different frameworks at each country level. There's different requirements by each country. The most important thing that we saw is that it had to be complementary. We have to move away from duplication, no parallel systems, and this was always one thing that we always kept in mind. I'm going to dig deeper into the challenge, and I know that we're here talking about digitalization today and, and how it's a must, but the biggest challenge that we've seen is not digital. It's like all getting together and agreeing on something, right? So legally, there's legal and institutional fragmentation. There's different legal frames, different internal processes, different levels of digital maturity within each institution. So we had to make sure that we could have like a system that everyone was comfortable with. Of course, the ones that had like a lower level of maturity, it was also an invitation for them to speed up or help them get to a higher level, but we all need to be comfortable with what we're creating. In terms of adoption, the biggest thing is if institutions do not adopt it, the solution fails. So no matter how good the system is, we need to make sure that everyone is comfortable with it because it has to be used. Again, the duplication risk is very high, so we needed to make sure the system was integrated. And in terms of interoperability, well, interoperability is not a technical feature anymore, it's a condition for us to work together. So now European competitiveness is in everyone's mind, and they're making a big effort, especially in research infrastructure, and how they're going to start like making sure that all our infrastructures are working together and they're in a different framework. So we have to look at it also as an opportunity. I call it micro or macro, meaning I can have like a smaller look and I say within my institution we're sharing all these infrastructures and we have this catalog and this works this way and we agreed on something, but this has a bigger framework or a bigger level that you can end up looking at. If we're talking about European competitiveness, that means that if we are all interoperable, if we all work together, if we all have a common or a similar system, it's easier for Europe to have like a common innovation background, a common like infrastructure on its own. So one of the, I'm going to share like an example of legal alignment and from intention to friction. So basically what we did within our working group is we agreed upon a minimum or a legal template on certain aspects. And I'm going to share like 4 different items. There's more items, but I thought that this one were very like different and they're good to understand. So there's like the access agreement. There's some institutions that for smaller access didn't require a contract agreement. Other institutions did. So here we had to agree, everyone that, well, everyone's more comfortable with having a signed agreement. So we are going to have a signed agreement. And that was the agreement that we solved. When it comes to pricing model, some universities did have some pricing, public pricing that they already had. They already had a system, a methodology, and different prices depending on the level. If it's internal pricing, external pricing, and they wanted to have that pricing included also on the contract. Other institutions didn't want to have that, or they are more comfortable it being an annex or a different, not within the signed contract. So we had to make sure that in the contract is perceived that there will be some payment, but we're not going to add the pricing, right? When it comes to IP rights, some institutions said, well, if you're just accessing the infrastructure, this institution does not own IP rights for whatever comes out of it. would like an acknowledgement of use, but that's pretty much it. But there's other institutions that have different opinions. So here, what we had to do is we needed to have like a two-way option 1, option 2. So depending on where the access is going to be, it's going to have to go towards one or the other direction. And at the end, settling location for agreement. Obviously, it was decided, everyone wants to have it settled on their own jurisdiction area. So it was decided that if the access was given in one particular country, the settling would be done in that country. So what we are working and what we're upon is having a digitalized workflow that whenever anyone, internal or external basically, wants to access this infrastructure would go through this workflow digitally, and then at the end you will have the document created digitally, and it would have to enter the procedure for each institution. Like, let's say if there's somebody that wants to access UPC, we have our own legal workflow, right? And this is a system that's been working for a while. So what basically they're doing is we're helping draft the contract, and at the end then we'll get the contract already written, we already have the agreement, and then the signature will go through our legal procedure, because we cannot add something different. We need to build bridges, not create a new system. So when it comes to the hidden cost or misalignment, the first thing that we saw, because we had like a work group that we invited industry, we invited researchers, and we asked them, when you see this catalog, what do you think? Like, do you want to use the catalog? What's the first idea that comes to your mind? And most of the researchers said, how hard it is to do it, right? It's not about the catalog, it's the process. So we knew that we had to communicate or be able to show that we went one step further. We did that part, but we were not showing it. So with the idea of this workflow, we want to show them that this part is working already. We've already agreed on something, it's easy to access, no? So if you don't align with them, what happens? There's delays in finalizing agreements, there's reinventing or rewriting of the same contracts over and over again, and then you don't know if something changes. There's a lot like behavior of, you don't know of the consistency of it. There's the uncertainty, like it doesn't help when it comes to providing and allowing more access. It could become like a missed collaborations opportunity, because if somebody thinks it's too hard to access, then they would just not even try. And on the long run, what that also means is duplication of infrastructures instead of sharing them. And this is the biggest aspect. When it comes to the bigger picture, if Europe is dedicating, or the European Commission is dedicating an X amount of money for investment in infrastructure, wouldn't it make more sense if we specialize and we get like a very good equipment, a singular equipment in one place and in a different place, and we share that equipment instead of duplicating over and over again in how many countries, how many institutions. That's the the real challenge here. So I'm gonna finish here. One of the things that I wanted to point out is digitalization is not a nice to have anymore, it's a must. Digitalization is the key for interoperability. And the real question now is whether we do it in a way that connects Europe or fragments it further. So I'm very happy that I was invited here in this conversation, because I think that we're trying to build, and we're really trying to make it on a way that we're connected and we're working together, and it's great.
Thank you, Marichal. Indeed, that's what we want to do, create synergies. And now I would like to welcome our last speaker. Most of you know him already. It's Stefan Weidner. Since 2009, Stefan is serving as executive director as one of the 2 existing SAP University Competence Centers in Germany. In Magdeburg, it is an independent unit within the Faculty of Computer Sciences at OVGU, and it is supporting higher education institutions worldwide with SAP teaching and learning offerings. I make it for you a bit shorter. Today, his team provides teaching and learning environments to more than 900 universities worldwide, mostly in Europe, Middle East, and Africa. Stefan is a true native Magdeburg person. After a bachelor degree in the US, he studied computer science and business informatics at the University of Magdeburg. And he remained loyal to the city and to the university. In addition to his day job, he has been leading Work Package 9 infrastructure for EU Green since 2023 and is collaborating with AUPA projects to implement and further develop the Agora system. Welcome, Stefan.
So before I start, 2 things to mention. I proudly wear my UN SDG pin to bring color not only to our lines but also to society politics, and especially with the federal state election coming up at Saxony-Anhalt. I think we need more color in our everyday life. Then second, I'll be walking around because that's my competitive advantage on stage now, because we are on a step challenge in EU Green. And every step I take while you sit there, I get a competitive advantage over you. And also research shows that if you just slightly turn your head in the audience by listening to someone on stage, it keeps you more awake. So that's the second more trivial thing to do. So I called my slide set from shared resources, similar to what Stefan did, to impactful engagement, because the journey that we have taken in the last 4 years in our lines, I think specifically shows how we have evolved to not only collecting data, quite okay, to really making the first steps into real engagement. So I picked 4 specific decisive points as I see them from my perspective as the lead of digital infrastructures in our lines, and they are prettily depict each of the 4 years we have been in or that we're in right now, which is 2023, beginning of 2025 for 2024, 2025, and then the current state as we're in our lines. I'll go through them step by step. First, and people, I do remember our meeting in Parma, great food, great city. The first rectors meeting that I attended, I presented these 6 elements that we wanted to work on and to build in our 4-year project time frame. I ordered them from simple to difficult, so some people of you may not have understood what I meant. Now some of you know. Digital identity was the first thing. I thought this is the easiest, and eventually we got this done after 1 year with using Edu Rome for all of our alliance member states now. Then we wanted to work on wallet. We specifically worked a lot on metadata. I think some of you cannot hear this term anymore, but it was worthwhile, and the results showed that it was necessary. Directories, EU Green Work, or Green Work as it's usually referred to in the past couple of years. And we wanted to tap into campus management as well. This is the hardest nut to crack, as we've already heard, but we cannot avoid that. We need to work on joint services that embed into our universities' services as well. Next stop was our first big picture. Some of you remember this. This is what we drew in January 2025 for the end of 2024 in Angers, University of Angers. And you see the same components on the lower end, more structured than it was on the first slide. You also see on the top, based on our work package, not all of them, I know some are missing, but I fit the most work done on it. And you see loosely coupled services that you had been describing, voicing, or wanting from the IT environment. Some of them were already embedded. Microsoft Teams was embedded. There was also the Alliance website already built and up and running. But some of the other work package, education, research, mobility, were feverishly asking and seeking for support by IT. So a year later, we were introduced or got aware of the Agora or the AUPA EU project, hard word to pronounce, but it's the team around UPC, where Marichel is also working around Jesus Alcobar and his team to really develop the Agora system based on their Unite prototype of such an integrated digital infrastructure system to all of the alliances. So their mandate by the EU Commission was take your system and try to make it work for others and provide it for other alliances as well. So what we did, we looked at and tested all of the Agora modules available by that time, and we mapped them to our work packages, really seeing what is relevant, what's necessary, and what is already further developed. So we found internship catalogs, we found research infrastructure modules that Marichel already talked about. Then the event module was both tested in work package 4 and 5, for example, and we started working on new modules with Alessandro and the Parma team on the mobility services to really make sure that our internship and mobility opportunities are seen. And then same to integrate this slowly with our Alliance website so that Agora does not stand alone, but it's collecting data and it's being integrated into our local or Alliance websites. So that was the work in progress in 2025. So I want to not leave you off. This is the last theoretical slide. I want to build together with you. It's another thing in education. You just don't present a complex thing. You try to build it together with the audience, as the digital graphic designer does as well. So we have our EU Green Network, the central environment that we are trying to provide services and systems in. Within there, we have established our single sign-on. So every one of you can use your local IDs, your university IDs, and sign on into some other partner universities' systems. We tested this remember on Wrocław in 2024, when at the rectors meeting we presented this the first time live, where even the rectors could sign on to Moodle systems in Magdeburg and Parma. Then we started, and this was the hard part, and Marichel and Stefan talked about this too, it's very hard to really get to the details of local resources. I don't know university resources. Some of you don't even know your own resources at the university. So to collect and to understand and structure and harmonize these things was the hardest part, and this is what we call metadata management. We needed to know how the left-hand side is described so we can understand, translate, share, and use these resources in our alliance. Then we added Microsoft Teams. As you know, some don't like it. Even in network, we are not supposedly to use it, but for our alliance, it's fine. Then we also, by the help of Dani and the Work Package 9 comms team, we have the EU Green website set up. And then in the beginning, we said, okay, how do we fill this gap? How do we make all of the resources on the left-hand side visible and usable by our 9 partners and also our external partners. So this is my SAP world. EU Green Agora came at the right time to feed into this purpose. And now this is the change or the renaming we did. We are now structuring the different services in 4 main hubs. So everything related to education will be formed into the education hub. It's a collection of directories of things, courses, programs, BIPs, MOOCs, and so on, but also increasingly integrating services on top of these directories. Then the second hub is a research innovation hub that is combining our work packages 3 and 4 of the first 4 years into one vital topical group. Then we have the engagement hub led by A2U. I've done a lot of research and testing with the A2U team. So this is where I think we could drive most value that goes into the society and beyond education and research. And last but not least, we just elevated the mobility topic into its own hub. We know that it goes transversal into any of the other things we do at the university anyway, but you wanted to give it a specific focus to make sure that our mobility, whether it's virtual or whether it's in person, is boosted to the maximum. There's 2 spaces left. The event today or this week is the first real conference, the first EU Green conference that is run on Agora in their events module. And then last not least, we are also testing and working on the help desk, because I think Stefan mentioned this, getting help and making things simple to the actual user is important. So we heard the message and the feedback and said we want to reach out to every single user on Agora whenever they run into a problem or when they are experiencing some things they need to have more hands-holding on. I will leave off with there's also the EU funds and tender portal, the quality management, impact management. So you see there's a whole breadth of things that can benefit from a central metadata orchestration of this alliance. I would want to leave you with 2 examples. As you can see, you may have seen these colorful symbols, not because I like flowers, but because the icon on the very top right is the AUPA EU project logo. So I proudly put this on for Jesus Alcobar. Then it's our short logo on top there too. And maybe you remember these colorful dots to the left of this. This is the CVIS logo without the CVIS on it, because parts of the module I'm going to talk about, the BIP model, was borrowed and also taken from the CVIS team. So there's a collaboration amongst the alliances, so we can now create blends of intensive programs and also keep all their records and details visible to students on our websites as well as on our on other communication channels. Last slide, Anna, promise, keep in time. Our newly developed module that doesn't exist on Agora, so we wanted to take the standard collection of data one step further and wanted to look at the whole process of a project. So we did not only focus on the project itself, but we wanted to capture the actual initiation phase, the idea phase. So we allowed users to present ideas or proposals of projects. Once the project is then starting, we collect the actual definition and the documentation of the project. And once the project is over, and this is on the EU Green Biodiversity Lab that you can take a walk with me later on, this is the actual description of the results. So we wanted to share best practices and things that we developed in the project at the very founder stage. I think this is my second last slide, so I'm always ending with that question. So have you done anything EU Green today? So with this, I want to leave you at least the stage and then hand over to Anna back for the discussion part. Thank you.
Thank you, Stefan. So I already have several questions, but we will not be able to tackle them all. But I know the time for Beatrix is short. We others, we can extend a bit the time. But I will hand over then to the audience, so please have questions ready for them and challenge our experts. So I have a question, what is related, you have 12 universities in UNIWEL. So, and you picked already a lot of challenges you had. What would you say was the biggest one you had, and how you solved it, and maybe what is also the outlook, so the future for the next steps in the Alliance on digital transformation?
Yes, thank you, Anna. I think one of the main challenges was, and I think all colleagues mentioned this, to get everybody on board and to then really realize the one decision, for example, that was taken on the LMS. So if you were part of a European university for well-being, we had certain values, meaning we wanted an open, non-profit learning management system, despite perhaps some disadvantages or something that, or if we look at the cloud system, we also wanted one that carries our values, and in addition that we could also afford. Although I myself, for example, would have liked to stay in also the universe of the corporate providers, we could have chosen as well. So this was the one of the biggest challenges, to say this is what we are doing now and we go for this. The other was, of course, to realize the different, let's say, experts at the different institutions. So how would we basically actually be able to afford this? Meaning that what is the personnel, for example, the resources that we need? So we have the work package leads, for example, in Murcia and Nantes, with 2 full-time equivalents, as well as IT experts. Then we have digital education experts here at Cologne, and also lifelong learning and micro-credential experts, also here at Cologne. And in Nantes, we have the digital content developer, the OER lead, the digital curator, and the pedagogical engineer in education. So what is it that we need now? And, how do we move on, you ask as well. So this is the personnel, but also, of course, the expertise. I mean, we're not just talking about people, but about the expertise, and we also know that they are not easy to get. And where we are moving now is, of course, to include one of the transformative technologies. It's AI, led education, but value-led as well, which will, again, totally transform how we teach and learn. And there I agree with Marichel saying that, digitization is a prerequisite for everything. Otherwise, we can just not do things in a sustainable way, for example, and also with the values we have. So AI is the next big step. How we do this, we have some readiness here at the University of Cologne, and we'll now scale this up for the others and see how we can share resources there again. And I very much liked also to see this in a bigger picture of research infrastructure as well, and not separate this according to missions. This is just for teaching, just for research, because I don't think this will work.
Thanks a lot. Stefan,
Am I
for
still
you.
with you? No, I'm frozen. Yes, I am still with you.
Yes, you were shortly frozen, but you're still there. Stefan, for you, I am wondering, so what was your biggest challenge, and maybe also, because you mentioned you have a lot of partners in Africa, is there any difference? Is this different to include them to the European partners? Are there maybe particular challenges?
Yeah, I would say the biggest challenge is that people usually mix up factual realities, practicalities with legal constraints. So they would say, this is not possible because. And the reason is because we did not do it so far. So, okay, and I always say, okay, if this is the reason, we can easily overcome it. This is, for me, no legal constraint. Plus, of course, legal constraints are there to rethink them. And we went far, in that respect altogether in terms of the alliances. When it comes to our collaboration with Africa, of course, we have European values, we have European standards. Meanwhile, we are advanced from that level, but generally, technically, we are not advanced. We are really on the same page, I would say, and we can learn a lot from each other. And in particular, in terms of ideas, we have, for example, university in Sfax, in Tunisia, and other North African universities that are really now building up, let's say, a digital repository of their libraries. And it's massive, they are way ahead of what we have achieved on that level. So it's a mutual learning, and it's really like ideation, co-creation, co-designing things. Of course, we have to think of, there are some legal constraints, but usually the commonalities are greater than the barriers, I would say, yeah. So I'm always ending up with a positive statement. Sorry, is it?
That is great, because we have very similar experiences here. Yeah, it is often happening that you hear, that is not possible because of X, Y, Z, and we need to think about solutions rather than about the hurdles. Yes, thank you. Marichelle, for Unite and AUPA, so you were mentioning as well 3 bigger clusters of challenges. What would you say is the biggest hurdle and how to solve it?
I already mentioned it, and I think the biggest hurdle sometimes is agreeing on something. It's outside of the digital world, so I think that sometimes when you express that you want to or automatize or digitalize like a procedure, a workflow, a procedure, a lot of people get scared sometimes on it, not only along the alliance, it can happen inside an institution. There's many different, like the micro and macro, right? You can take it as small as you can get or as big as you can get. And I think that the biggest hurdle, sometimes people say, no, this is not possible, but the real reason behind it is because you disagree on something or you don't want to get to the level of agreement to be able to actually like place this is how we're gonna do it, right? So I'll just continue what you just said. Don't bring me problems. We all know the problems. Is bring me solutions so that we can all work together and we can make it happen. And then this can happen in any aspect, really.
Thank you. Maybe, Stefan, for you, I can add the question, why our work is also so important for European competitiveness.
Yeah, let me quickly continue on what Marichelle said. So we talked about this in Barcelona in January, just at your university, that getting people together and to find the balance between when you don't have a solution yet, because people realize they need to also take their part in explaining what they do, what they need, what they want from IT or from the different service levels. And when you bring a solution, to not completely go bald and say, okay, this is it. So we now solved the world. So it's to finding this balance between not being biased, of seeing the first solution that you present to them, but keep them engaged and challenged on improving this. Because what worked for Siebes, and I think Stefan said this, they focused a lot on the joint infrastructures and projects. We, for the beginning, and I think we are known in the AUPA, that we also focus on our own local projects and initiatives. So there's differences in how we have tackled IT to help us to bring us forward. And we can learn from each other now. We can learn from them to run joint projects where they can learn from us how we have brought our local competences and strengths as rural universities there. So back to the competitiveness question that Anna said, I think this all leads to putting the universities in their specific surrounding setting on a higher stage, on a better stage. So we can show our research infrastructures, our competences, our biodiversity labs, if you want, to the wider world of our alliance, but also beyond. And as Beatrix said, and also what for you for all does, to connecting all 700 plus universities and all of the alliances with even different continents, as Stefan said, also not only European universities, but also beyond. So that's, I think, the biggest value that we're trying to develop. And sometimes it feels hard, but evolution only happens if it not hurts, but if it's acknowledged that something is changing. Yeah.
Because we have not so much time, I would hand over to the audience for questions. Yeah.
I'm faster. It's a step challenge, as you can see.
Hello, I'm Frances Lucy from ATU, working in the engagement work package. I was interested in the third mission. We had a very provocative statement from one of our associate partners who asked us, why would I go there when we explained about our digital infrastructure? So I'd like to know from your experience of either of the two other alliances how you succeed in bringing your external stakeholders, associate partners to your digital infrastructure platforms, please.
we were actually speaking about this morning with Stefan on the way here, and it's one of the biggest challenges right now. I feel like apart from all the digitalization that you can do and all the work that you can do to settle the standard, there has to be like a communication around it so that they can know. One of the biggest objectives that we have is getting industry to use our research infrastructures and to use them as a whole. So there has to be some communication around it. There has been we are working closely with our startups from all the startup universe within our institutions, and this is the first step, and this is how we start. And we started with like a initial test. We identified a startup that was interested in using our infrastructures, but that was like kind of like an initial phase. The idea would be for everyone to use it like more openly, and I think that in this case, we still lack a lot of communication in this sense. There has to be a lot more communication, promotion, a lot more dissemination about these possibilities, and then hopefully bring it up to our local industry from each of our institutions, and just take it one step further always.
Please. Just before Beatrix goes, because I know she needs to go, I would like to also add another question for her. So thank you very much, Beatrix, for being here. I'm Antonio, project manager for EU Green. And also to conclude with a very positive note and building on what has been shared by Stefan, and because we had this working retreat in Brussels, digitalization seems to be an opportunity for European universities, if I understood it correctly, in this European Competitiveness Fund, and the request from the European Commission to look for alternative ways of funding. I would like to remind everyone that we are implementing an experiment, and that all those needs that we are identifying to be requested to the European Commission to be answered in future calls for digitalization in the higher education sector will be an opportunity to further funding our initiatives and to further build our universities. So my question to you is, even there were no announcements, you agree that this digitalization is really an opportunity to keep on building our universities once we identify all these barriers and all those needs to be answered by our joint efforts in alternative projects, not in Erasmus+, but in other future programs. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. First of all, to the last question, thank you for this. Yes, I agree. I would say it's one among many opportunities to show what we are doing, to show our impact, and to show that you cannot create a Europe without European university alliances. I really fully believe, and many of you know this, I'm adamant when it comes to European university alliances. In a way, they are my energizer, because I do think this is where the dancing takes place and where the transformation of everything that is needed in this topsy-turvy world happens. Because this is where we push everybody. This is, where we test out things. We've just heard in very impressive examples from your alliance. So I do think we need to get better with regard to even communicating what we are doing, but we also need to stop to constantly justify that what we are doing is still in its infant years and so on. We have done our share with little resources, and we have achieved quite a lot, more than 120 joint degrees, for example. There are research and innovation projects. And I think that digitization is, we just do this in the very creative way we've done it. And this is the precondition in a way, and at the same time also natural, to foster research, to foster new Bildung, new education necessary for this world. And we are higher education institutions, and we know how to do this. So I think in that sense, we can also be very self-assured. And the way we do this at Uniwell is also because we are dealing with well-being. Many suddenly see that there's value in dealing with this topic. And also, I think all of us can do this, and that working together is more than the sum of its parts. this is where the innovation takes place. So me being a highly research-based person and really an adamant promoter also of universities and science, I think this is what we need to show as well. We are providing the science also to protect democracy, and I say this because you are in Magdeburg, and so on, to really protect this world in ways that so far perhaps that haven't been suggested. And I do think digitization is one. Look at these very innovative ways you have been doing this. We need to showcase this. I think we are the future, as universities should be. That would be my reply for this. And with that, I say goodbye to all of you. And thank you very much. Enjoy your time. Thank you, Anne, again for inviting me. So, as I said, I miss being there, but this is what it is. Wish us luck here in Cologne that we get the site visit right next week.
Bye, Beatrice.
Stefan, you wanted to add something?
Yeah, maybe I can well answer to the two questions in terms of civic engagement, in terms of the role of technology, by bridging this through the term social innovation. I mean, Civis is on civic engagement. Civis is working a lot with civil society organization, other non-academic partners from that, let's say, angle. Not so much with industry at the moment, but this is also evolving. When we work, and I myself worked a lot, and you heard this maybe in the introductory statement, that I worked a lot with humanitarian organization over the last 2 decades, basically, 20 years at least. Well, I started after my studies more or less immediately, because I thought what I'm studying, and that was just the emergence of, you know, what we call nowadays geospatial technologies, Google Maps, these kind of things, everything digital, spatial, spatial geography, Earth observation, was just the emergence, and I was 100% sure this is absolutely the right technology for humanitarian organizations like Médecins Sans Frontières and other global organizations. What we have now is a long-term collaboration with this. We are supporting many of these international, let's say, global humanitarian activities. And this is only one example out of many how we can actually use technology and drive this social innovation. Because usually there is a need, and there is much more need to act agile in an agile way than in universities. I mean, we are all, especially the old traditional 400 years universities, they're moving so slowly. But outside, in the outside, not only, also the young ones, I don't know, but I can only speak for the big established ones in Europe. They're moving heavily slowly. But there is, of course, this agile component in our collaboration. We can learn a lot also from the civil societies about their needs and about their agilities in terms of adopting this technology. And when I think, especially because it has been named, Earth observation is one of my professional fields, it now occurs 13 times actually in these competitive funds documents, because it occurs everywhere. And I want to make a strong point that there is so many let's say, use cases and application scenarios from biodiversity monitoring, which is a topic here relevant, I think, for this alliance, up to many other things like in ocean monitoring, climate, up to disaster management and so on and so forth. And it is not only the so-called new resilience or preparedness in terms of military readiness. This is absolutely this is one of the emerging topics at the moment, but the technology has not been constructed for this purpose.
Thank you.
So as a direct answer to France as well, to the external partners, challenge us. Not only topic-wise and not only professionally, but also from organization level standpoint. So one example, digital transformation, if you see the live translation that we brought in here, it was unheard of at the University of Magdeburg to use an AI-powered, cloud-based tool for online translation about a couple of weeks ago, until we had the conference up and coming and other champions. I see some in the room that are really drivers of digitization in the university. be outspoken, be vocal, challenge us at universities as well. I think this is where they can feel the innovative power that they may have seen before, but they not imagine. So present not the easiest challenges you may have, present the hardest challenge to universities, because we are up to the job and up to the task to take them on as well. That will be my answer to them. That's what I do tell them when they ask me. Thanks.
Thank you. And with this, to challenge us, I take this as a task. I would like to close the session. We will have now a lunch break, and then we will have the next challenges in the individual working sessions from 2 on. So I wish you a nice break, and thanks a lot.